Hey there, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. So, lots happened since the last show that we had. Unfortunately, I was sick last week, and the first half of this show is going to be the candidates that I was going to feature last week. I appreciate their patience for joining us this week. The second half is going to be the show that I was originally going to have this week, which was featuring the candidates from the state of Pennsylvania, the Molten Maneuver, and all that fun stuff. We'll be getting to that in the 8 o'clock hour. Uh, but the last show that I had was the Canadian election, previewing that with Tim Moen from the LP Canada, former party leader of LP Canada. That election shook out last week, and as we predicted, it was a liberal minority government, and pretty much status quo from the previous government. So that really is no change. There was an earth-changing election today in Germany. This is the first election without Angela Merkel as the party leader of the Christian Democratic Party or Union. I'm sorry, and they paid for it. They lost about 8% support, and there's going to be lots of questions as to who is going to form the next government of Germany. One of the parties, the Free Democratic Party, is a liberal economic free market party. I'd be interested to see what shakes out with that party. There's a lot of talk that they may be, along with the Green Party, kingmakers in Germany. So we'll see what's going on with that. The One of the things I want to tell you about, we actually just had one this weekend, and I want people to get involved. We have two more of these to get involved with, and it is the regional and affiliate campaign training. Next week, or I'm sorry, in a couple weeks, it's going to be in Atlantic City, New Jersey for Region 8. Again, go to this website, register for the training, get out there and take the training. It's great training. We just had one in Shreveport, Louisiana today, yesterday and today, and your final opportunity will be on the 16th of October in Indianapolis, Indiana. So if you get a chance to go to these, because they're a fantastic opportunity, not only to learn a great deal about how to run campaigns, how to be a treasurer, how to do social media and all those great things, but it's also a great chance to network and get introduced to libertarians all over the country, all over your region. Um, One of my guests was actually a participant in the training that I went to in Norfolk, and again, it's a great opportunity to get out there, meet your fellow libertarians, brainstorm, share best practices, and then get great training from people like Kara Schultz, Tara DeSisto, Michelle McCutcheon, and whoever the other great people that do training on an off and on basis with that group. So again, uh, can't recommend that training enough. So tonight is Candidate-Palooza. What I wanted to do was get some of our candidates. A lot of people don't think of these off years as election years for the LP, but in Virginia, in particular, and in Ohio and a few other places, we are seeing candidates run in these off-year elections, and I wanted to feature those candidates. While they're still trying to get involved in those campaigns to send donations to if you're in those areas, go out and volunteer, pound the pavement, knock some doors, put up some signs, and all that good stuff. So let me bring on my guests. First one is John Stafford Stanley. He is running for alderman in Kernersville, North Carolina. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, my next one is Tim Lewis, who's running for the House of Delegates in Virginia, District 88, and Joe Combs running for City Council in Ohio. What's that? What town was that again?
The city of Harrison.
City of Harrison. All right. And then Mike Maines, who's also running for City Council in Ohio. What city are you running for, Mike?
Harrison, Ohio.
Okay. Awesome.
Joe and I are running mates.
Excellent. Excellent. So two candidates in the same city of Harrison, Ohio. And it would be great to have both of them elected so you could have a good number of candidates or libertarians on the board. That would be awesome. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to throw the question out there. Anybody can answer it. This one really is just. Oh, actually, we'll just go in order here. John, tell us your background and give us how you became a libertarian.
Well, my background is pretty much non-political at all. But for a long time, I thought I was a Republican, and then I realized that the Republicans didn't fit with what I actually agree with. And then I stumbled across libertarianism, and I was like, hey, that's kind of like what our founding fathers are saying. So I'm going to go over here and do that. And ever since then, I've been on the pursuit of helping to grow local governments into liberty.
Nice, excellent. Tim, same question. What's your background, and how did you become a libertarian?
Well, I was kind of both for a while. I was started off as a Democrat because my brother was a Republican, and I had to do everything opposite him. Then I started leaning a little bit more toward the Republican side, I thought anyway. And then I was waiting on a program to come on the radio, and I heard this guy named Neil Bortz who was talking about this third party I hadn't heard of before. And, love him or hate him, he was my introduction to the party, and I went out to register in North Carolina as a libertarian. They said, nope, you're either Republican, Democrat, or undecided. And that got me even more entrenched.
There you go. All right. Actually, one of my first introductions to libertarian politics was also Neil Bortz. I lived in Atlanta at the time, which is where he was based out of during that same time, and I definitely diverged on the military issue and the terrorism issue with him. But
Sure.
he did bring a lot of great points, especially when it came to cannabis and all that stuff. And I was like, oh well, it knocked me away from the Republican Party for sure. So. Mike, tell us your background and how you became a libertarian.
Yeah, that goes way back. I had the great fortune of working for this little company you might have heard of before called Levi Strauss and Company, and one of the oldest companies in America, right? And there was this guy in IT from the, Mississippi, and he ran against the great Trent Lott from the state of Mississippi, if you remember that name. Anybody old enough to remember Trent Lott?
Oh, yeah.
Louis Napper ran against Trent Lott as a libertarian. I said, what's a libertarian? And that's where the conversation started. And so he's been a mentor for a long time, and then went on to vote for Gary Johnson in 2012 and 2016. Joined the party officially, I think, in 2016, and so it's quite a story.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Tell me, what's your background and how did you get involved in the Libertarian Party?
Well, for me, I guess you could say a recovering Republican. I was brought up in the conservative upbringing, like a lot of folks. First presidential election when I turned 18 was Bush 41 back in 1992. And I dutifully voted Republican. And over the years since then, raising my family and just advancing my career, I've grown more and more disgusted with the role government has, how much they're taking out of my check, things like that. And it kind of gave me the small L libertarian leaning. And then 2 years ago, I ran an independent campaign for Harrison City Council. I'm out knocking on doors and explaining my philosophy, my beliefs to people. And somebody said, you really need to meet Mike Mays. And so Mike and I were able to connect, and through him, I've gotten involved with the local party, the local affiliate. So I've gone from lowercase L to capital L libertarian.
Excellent. So great. Kind of very, very backgrounds, like a lot of us, political refugees from the old parties and getting involved in the Libertarian Party because it really just kind of fits what you believe, and it's a fairly standard set of beliefs that you don't have to worry about evolving over time. That the Republicans become Democrats and Democrats become Republicans. There's not much difference between the two, but LP stays pretty consistent. So, let's start with Joe and Mike. Tell us about your district. What does your town look like? What kind of demographics does it have? What are the battles you're facing in your district?
Sure.
Well, for us, Harrison is heavily conservative, we'll say. They voted 80% Trump in last year's election. which is pretty typical of Hamilton County once you get outside the city limits of Cincinnati. The city proper is very blue. But 80% Trump, but less than 20% of the people in Harrison are actually registered Republicans. So they're very conservative leaning, but not very engaged with the party, or don't have that strong party identification, at least the way Ohio defines being a Republican or a Democrat.
Sure. And then, you know, the interesting thing for us is that Joe and I went out, we actually pulled libertarian petitions back in January at the height of the global pandemic. And we got our 50 signatures plus. We were getting ready to turn them in. And the Hamilton County Board of Elections called us and said, Mr. Maines, Mr. Combs, you can't run as libertarians. You have to run as an independent Republican or Democrat. And so we went back out and got another 25 signatures and running. We're two libertarians being forced to run as independents here in city of Harrison, Hamilton County, state of Ohio. Yeah. Ballot access is awful in Ohio, just like it is in most other states.
Yeah. So ballot access in Ohio, there's no libertarian ability to run as a libertarian, or
no ability to run as a libertarian. And we talk about that to our constituents, the folks we meet out on the streets, and they're always just shocked, and it just really blows them away. And we tell them, you know, this is your chance. This is your chance to vote for two libertarians, and to let people know that you know, at the grassroots level. And we've had lots of people say, well, what's the difference between an independent and a libertarian? And so that's a great way to start a conversation and talk a little bit about that, and hand them, you know, world's smallest political quiz, and you know, that sort of thing, and kind of go from there. So it's been it's unfortunate that we can't run as libertarians, but it's been a good conversation with the voters of Harrison to talk about that.
Excellent.
Yeah,
so, go ahead.
But I was gonna say, most folks are completely caught off guard. They have no idea how it works in Ohio, even though they've lived here their whole lives, because the rules just changed in 2015. So we can submit the petitions to establish the state party, but then remaining a party is tied to percentage of vote in the most recent presidential or gubernatorial election. So, and then you hold a crazy divisive election that just drives people to the polls in droves to vote against somebody, and make the denominator of that fraction huge. It's like pushing the reset button on the party every 2 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's what we tell people too. We could run as libertarians. We just have to go out and get 60,000 signatures.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about it is it is prohibitively expensive.
Yeah, only 12,000 people in the city of Harrison, so 60,000 signatures. Yeah,
it's prohibitively expensive to get people on the ballot as libertarians in Ohio, but
it cost the Libertarian Party of Ohio about $250,000 to get ballot access for Gary Johnson, Travis Irvine back in 2016, 2017. 250. You know, they gathered you know, over, I don't know, 150,000 signatures, I think, to make sure they had double. And yeah,
that's the thing. People don't understand that when we do ballot access signature drives, you know, they say, oh, well, your number is this. And we're like, oh, that doesn't sound so bad. Like in Virginia, it's 10,000 for statewide ballot access. To really be secure in that, you have to get probably 75% above, or probably double is really a safe number to survive any challenges. The amount of money that you spend to just get ballot access is ridiculous. And when people ask us, you know, why haven't the libertarians done more? It's like, we spend so much money just getting on the ballot, just giving you an option on the ballot that, you know, a lot of times we're out of money by that time that we get on the ballot. So.
Right. I mean, that's what happened to Travis Irvine in 2018. By the time we got ballot access, he did not have much time to run a campaign.
Yeah. It's time consuming. It's money consuming.
Right.
It burns out all your activists. It really is just a
And in 2016, we hit the 3% threshold with Gary Johnson, but he wasn't on the ballot as libertarian. He was on the ballot as an independent. So, yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. I hate Ohio's ballot access laws. All right. So, John, tell us about your district. What you're running in Kernersville, North Carolina, which, fun fact, I grew up in Kernersville, North Carolina back in between 1974 and 1982.
Yeah. Well, Kernersville is it's still considered, I guess, a small town compared to Winston-Salem, which is next door, and Greensboro, which is right on the other side of us. So, but we have 24,000 or so residents here in Kernersville city limits. And luckily for us, it's a nonpartisan race, so we don't have to deal with any ballot access or anything like that. And North Carolina recently just accepted libertarians on their ballots, so that was huge for us. But really, right now, our biggest thing is that we have grown so much within the past decade that the representation isn't there for how much that we have actually grown. And so there's no outreaches, there's little effort to actually get the community involved. So it's kind of like an oligarchy controlling everything.
Yeah, my county here in West Virginia is the same way. It's definitely very good old boy network, and it's growing so fast that basically all we have on our city council or county commission is land developers who are happy to foster the development of the area, but have no concern about infrastructure of the area that is severely lacking. But yeah, what kind of challenges you had in your district as far as getting out and meeting voters and all that stuff? With of course, with the pandemic and everything, have you had many challenges in doing that?
Really, most of the challenges have come from things have. Well, this year we have 11 people running, so a lot of people see that there's a need for a change here, but with 11 people running, the water is super muddy, and just trying to distinguish yourself from everybody else, that's been the difficult part.
Okay. All right. Tim, tell us about your district. What's going on in Virginia? Where in Virginia is your district at?
Well, I'm running for the House of Delegates, which is the oldest continual governing body in the Western Hemisphere. It comprises parts of 3 counties: Stafford, Fauquier, and Spotsylvania, and part of Fredericksburg City proper. There's about 80K residents, 50K registered, with about a 30K turnout. So the magic number is about 16K. But we've in the 88 had 2 previous delegates. The first was a Democrat for 20 years. The second was a Republican for 18. And he decided this year he was going to step down. And so there's no incumbent and jumped on in.
Awesome. So what kind of events have you been holding in your district?
It's been a lot of door knocking thus far, but the events kick off this week, doing a Chamber of Commerce, rolling right into an NAACP candidate forum. We've got League of Women Voters out in Fauquier County coming up. We've got I'm doing a lot of charity events. I just did a Gwyneth's Gift charity event. I'm doing a suicide prevention walk coming up, just helping out a lot of the grassroots voluntarist organizations that aren't waiting for the government to step in to provide a solution. They're actually getting out there, lacing up their boots and doing it themselves. And I've been doing a lot of support for those organizations.
Cool. Excellent. What about the rest of the candidates? Have you guys been invited to any of the debates or anything like that coming up?
So Joe and I were kind of asking about whether there would be a candidate forum, which is kind of traditionally the case in our city. And Joe participated in 2019. I participated in 2017. And we asked about that, and they're kind of hesitant about whether they're going to do that or not. So there's 6 of us running for 4 spots, 4 Republicans and two libertarians. And the way that people kind of vote and looking at the letter behind their name, maybe they're trying to avoid having that candidate for them. I don't know. We'll push for that. We're kind of on they tend to have that late in October, which is kind of interesting with all the absentee ballot and that sort of things. You think they would hold it earlier, but yeah, they do a Facebook live stream. They have it out at the high school auditorium, and we'll push to have that because Joe and I think would like to share a little bit how we're different from the other candidates on the ballot.
Sure, absolutely. So let me give you each an opportunity to do your elevator speech or your standard platform speech as to why we should elect you as whatever office you're running for, and I'll just let you have the floor. So John, let's go ahead and start with you.
All right. Well, for one, I'm the only one that's kind of really looking to get the full representation of our entire town. Right now, we have 25,000 residents, and 10% of those people come out and vote, and half of them actually participate in our town. So I'm the only one that's looking to actually seek those voices out to see what they have to say so that we can be properly represented as a whole community instead of just a select few individuals.
Okay. All right, Tim.
Well, I'm into this as kind of a reluctant candidate. I never had political aspirations, and I still don't want to be a politician. I want to be a speed bump to the government. I want to go in there and create bureaucracy to making bureaucracy. There's very few initiatives I am actually pushing for. Some of them have already been stolen by the two major parties. The repeal of the food tax has been taken on by the Republican gubernatorial candidate. Hey, it's great. If he wants to knock that out, that's fine. People should not have to pay Richmond in order to live. It's just an absolute travesty that we have to. But he's doing it for the wrong reasons. He's doing it for putting more money in your pocket instead of the absolute moral wrongness of this situation in the first place. School choice, repeal COPN, and close the 13th Amendment loophole here in Virginia. But everything else, I'm just pushing for stopping the government from getting inside of our lives and telling us how we have to live and telling us we have to pay in order to do so.
So
what is COPN?
Yeah, what is COPN?
Oh, a certificate of public need. If a hospital in your community wants to do anything as simple as buy an MRI or build a NICU, they have to petition their communities. They have to dredge up a bunch of money and ask Richmond for permission. And if Richmond thinks it'll create unfair competition with the neighboring hospitals, which they have before, they'll deny it. They'll absolutely deny it, which deprives communities of services, creates medical monopolies, and drives medical care through the roof. Everyone's complaining about who's going to pay for medical care, whether it's going to be insurance companies or the government. Nobody's talking about why insurance or why medical care is so high in the first place. And a good bit of that is the government stepping in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Excellent. Mike.
All right. So I'm an incumbent, so I'm asking folks to give me another 4 years. The learning curve, I think, on city council is a bit steep, and I've served for 4 years, and I've learned a lot. I'd like to take what I've learned and to build on that, right? I got involved with the city council 4 years ago when they were looking at closing down the only free motocross track the east of the Mississippi, and that's the Doug Dunaway Motocross Park. Got involved, and it's a park that I rode at, and the former mayor had installed, but many of the current mayor and the council didn't know what it was. They wanted to close it down, and I've been a volunteer and advocate, and this year has been just a super year for us. We've had more equipment down there, more volunteers, more ridership than we've ever had. So, one of the things I can suggest to you fellas is that every city and county and state in the country needs a free motocross park. It's a great libertarian thing, right? Because it's a grassroots effort, city-owned property, but it's free to the public, and again, it's a group of grassroots volunteers that do that. One of the things that I was involved in 2018 is we had a fatality on a bridge overpass here in the city, a very motor vehicle oriented bridge, no sidewalks, and I was appointed to be on the street committee, and I went to the street committee and said, "What can we do?" I said, "We can't do much of anything because that's owned by the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, and they're slow to move." And so I just kept asking around and talking to folks, and it turns out someone in my dirt bike network, she knew all the tools. Caroline Duffy knew that we could get this because there was a fatality. She had the contacts, and she knew that we could get 100% state grant money. And in 2023, we're going to have a sidewalk, a 7-foot wide sidewalk across our bridge at West Road Overpass, where on the north end of the bridge, we have 2 subdivisions and 3 public schools. And on the south end, we have our shopping district. And you know how water flows, people flow the same way, right? You know, they go the shortest distance. And so we actually did a traffic count. We saw students walking across the bridge, bicycling across the bridge, lots of pedestrians going across the bridge. And so we're going to have a sidewalk here in 2023 that's probably about 20 years past due. And, you know, Joe told you the story about how he was knocking on doors in 2019, and he said the 2 of us should get together. So, you know, we are definitely telling folks the story about the ballot access and how we're 2 libertarians being forced to run as independents, and how this is people's chance to vote. If you want that choice on your ballot, if you want to see a 3rd party, a 4th party, a 5th party on the ballot, if you're tired of the choices that the Republicans and Democrats, the Republicrats and Demopublicans, the duopoly, whatever you want to call them, are serving up, this is their chance to, you know, vote for somebody different, and trying to, you know, let people know what a libertarian is. Libertarian, you know, believes that the government is too big, too nosy, too intrusive. We need to have smaller government, certainly at the federal and the state level. And you know, we've been talking up, you know, some great things that have happened in the city of Harrison. You know, we have a designated outdoor refreshment area, which is basically an open container law that you can take your alcoholic beverage down the street as long as you're in a certain zone. And you know what a great idea that is. That's you know, certainly something as a libertarian I voted for. We have golf carts in the city of Harrison now, thanks to a fellow who's he's a Republican, but he's very libertarian leaning. It was the reason he voted, or he ran for council back in 2019. And yeah, so I'll let Joe kind of talk a little bit about Rita and some of the other things that you know, we're talking about there. I don't want to take all of that. Did I miss anything, Joe?
I think you hit quite a bit. For me, when I ran 2 years ago as an independent in 2019, I entered the race mostly because it wasn't sitting well with me that they had their Republican primary and teed up 3 candidates for 3 seats, and so November was going to be an unopposed election, and it wasn't sitting well with me that the 200 people that cared enough to vote in the primary were deciding who our city council was. So that's when I launched my independent campaign. For me, it's all about making sure the people of Harrison have a real choice to make, have an opportunity to maybe find somebody who better represents their beliefs and their viewpoint. Harrison's it's a wonderful place to live. My wife and I, we moved our then new family out here 20 years ago, and absolutely love it. Harrison definitely has some challenges, though. It's one of the fastest growing communities, certainly in the Cincinnati area. I've heard perhaps in the entire state of Ohio. It's one of the few areas in western Hamilton County that has large tracts of undeveloped land still available. And so we've kind of grown into a bedroom community. Lots of people live here and then take their tax dollars with them to other communities, which then have really nice parks and stuff. So to me, it's important to find out how to balance that, how to meet the city's needs without just having let's raise taxes be the first answer, because that's for a lot of people, unfortunately, the easy answer. Mike mentioned Rita. Rita's the Regional Income Tax Authority. There are two agencies that the state of Ohio will let you use, let a municipality use to collect its taxes. Rita, and the other one's name escapes me. It's out of Cleveland. It might be the Cleveland.
Yeah, I think it's actually the city of Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the city can do it itself. We used to do it ourselves, and they started outsourcing it to Rita, and the level of service is just awful. I have never met anybody who's had a good experience there. We've got whole new neighborhoods that have gone in that Rita was not aware of it and waited 2 years to even say, hey, Harrison has an income tax. And just that level of incompetence, it's not good for the city. So bringing that back in house where we can serve people better, maybe save some money in the process. To me, that would be fantastic.
Okay. So tell me, I mean, like you're explaining that these neighborhoods went in and the taxing authority had no idea that they were there. So did they get like a 2-year lump sum tax bill, or how did that work?
I believe they did. They out of the blue got an oops. We were supposed to charge you for the last 2 years. Here's your bill. So imagine that surprise when you open your mailbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have calculation errors. I've heard stories of people having to fight with them over the calculation and just not getting any responsiveness. They usually wind up, complaining to the mayor, complaining to city council anyway. So let's bring it back in house where we can have people that are able to be responsive.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. John, while you're out on the campaign trail, what are people? What are the issues that people are talking about? What are the main concerns in your area?
Really, the main concern is the representation of the people. People don't feel heard, and then I'll bring up something like, "Did you know that Kernersville had a community pool?" And they're like, "No, I had no idea," even though we've had it for over 10 years, and they've contributed to have that pool, but it's in with a private endeavor, so there's no communication, and people see it. People see that there's no real outreach or no welcome sign to get involved, or even if you're not part of the clique, you're not even really in it to them. So
Yeah, why sell it to you when they don't even they don't even care about you. It's just you can't help them, so why would they sell you anything? Yeah, I get that around here as well. Tim, what are people saying on the campaign trail to you? What are the big issues that they're looking at?
Well, around here, especially with this being a state level race, a lot of people are singing the same old tune about gun rights, abortion choice, environment, and education. It's the same tune you hear and what the media pushes out there. When I start talking to them about the libertarian viewpoints on those, and when I start going into, do you realize these extra things that the government's doing beyond what the media is telling you to focus on? Do you realize that certificate of need laws are out there? Do you realize we're the only state left in this region that doesn't have school choice? Every state surrounding us, including the District of Columbia, has some form of school choice, and we're sitting here in last place in the educational race and giving kids what they need in order to learn. When we start talking about where we can actually go if we focus on what matters in our lives, then they start listening. But knocking on that door, it's the classic. It's the classic tune.
Yeah, absolutely. What about? I mean, you guys have been talking about taxes and stuff. What other issues are you hearing from your constituents as you're going out in the field, Mike and Joe?
Well, Joe, you want to talk about the Free City project? You want me to do that, or?
I'll let you do that one.
Yeah. So one of the things that we started talking about was, what would a free city look like? And I'm sure most of you are familiar with New Hampshire's Free State Project. We're the Free State Project, and they chose New Hampshire to be that state. And so we had an event down here in Harrison called the Taste of Harrison, and we did a little man on the street interview, and we asked people what a free city might look like, and boy, people struggle with that, right? That's a pretty deep question, but it was fun, and we broke that down and talked a little bit about folks' thoughts on the Dora, and largely a positive response for that. We're down in the downtown district having a big party, and people could they could grab their special cup and go into a restaurant or bar and come back outside and walk down the street. People like that. People like the golf carts. So we're just trying to find, in our community, what are the libertarian issues that resonate most with people and starting there, right? Just trying to identify what the next big libertarian thing we can do in the city of Harrison might be. And certainly people don't like Rita, and people understand too that we're a bedroom community and we struggle to pay for a good quality police, fire, and street services. And how do you do that, right? And so one of the things we're trying to look at are some of the cities that don't have an income tax. If you look at McKinney, Texas, they survive strictly on sales tax. And how do they do that? And how can we be, is McKinney, Texas, an aspirant city for us? Or, can we find an example of what they're doing in New Hampshire? And it's kind of interesting. One of the things that I learned in the state of Ohio, you can't set up an endowment or money into an account. City government can't do that. Where in New Hampshire, municipalities can do that and set aside money and eventually get to a point where they live off their interest. And they don't have to charge any taxes, right? They're just living off their investments. So, that's some things that we need to change at the state level. So that the cities can and take some of their money and invest it so that eventually they can have enough investments they don't have to charge income tax.
Excellent.
Or property tax.
The other thing I see in Harrison, at least, and it's funny, it seems so trivial, but kind of the idea behind it when you get past the specific, the nuts and bolts of the issue. In 2019, there was an ordinance that went in zoning dealing with garbage cans and wanting everybody to put their garbage can on the side of their house and have screening for it, so it's not visible from the street. And it's surprising how many people have kind of a knee-jerk, I don't like that reaction. And I can understand why. It certainly feels like your government is trying to be your homeowners association. And people will it's still on the community Facebook gossip page, people will still bring that up. And I think that's just one tiny example of kind of the sentiment that goes through people's minds. And it ties to, the golf carts Mike mentioned, things like that what the people are looking for is a government that can get out of the way and let them just be their best selves and enjoy their life with their family and their neighborhood, and not worry about, the nanny state, hounding them and harassing them.
Excellent. So I've got an interview that I'm going to be showing for Dean Davison, who's actually running for Virginia delegate here in a moment. But I wanted to give you guys a chance to promote your pages, and we will start with Joe.
Okay. I've got a website. Thanks, David, for putting it up there. combsforcouncil.org. There is, of course, a donate link. Any politician's website wouldn't be worth its salt if it didn't have a donate link. We got Facebook at Combs for Council, and then I'm on Twitter. Unfortunately, Combs for Council was taken, so I've got Elect Combs there. Anybody who's watching who's local to the greater Cincinnati area, we would love to have some help out hanging door hangers, knocking on doors, meeting people, having a presence at city, at events and activities. And you can reach me through any of those channels.
Fantastic. Mike.
There you go. You got the mainsforcouncil.org. You got the Mains for Council Facebook page. I guess I do have a Mains for Council Twitter that I neglected to put up there as well. So that's easy to find. And same kind of thing that Joe's got going there. We got the donate button. And, Joe and I have done a pretty decent job of doing some fundraising, but it's getting here near the end. And we've got our signs printed, and we've got 50 signs to get out. And as soon as we run out of those, we'll need to print another 50 signs and kind of keep going that route. And I was hustling and hanging signs before we came on board here and couldn't find my computer. So, oh boy, so that's but there's the social media, and we'll have we're pretty active. One of my favorite pictures out on our Facebook pages is a picture of Joe and I taking out the trash at the food truck rally, And we've been active volunteering in the local events and advertising for the groups that put these events together. Our downtown district always needs volunteers, so we're advertising on our Facebook page for that. And we're both quite active on both of those pages. I know my web page needs to be updated a little bit, and I got some ideas from some blogs. We'll be doing that here soon. But good stuff. Appreciate folks checking those websites out.
Yeah, excellent. Tim.
Well, I'm everywhere on digital media at Tim4VA. If you have a question of whether or not I'm on there, just search Tim4VA, and I'll probably pop up somehow. Again, Tim4VA.com/donate is how you can contribute to the campaign. We've got loads of door hangers. We've got loads of door signs. We're trying to get a good volunteer crew to help hand all that out. We're about to kick off our digital media advertising, getting some videos put together, getting some spots done up to push out that direction. If you'd like to help out financially, or if you'd like to strap on your shoes and come on out and help us knock on doors, really appreciate it.
All right. And finally, John.
Yeah, my website's johnstaffordstanley.com. And you can find me on Facebook for Stanley for Liberty. And Twitter, I had to change it up to John Staff Stanley. So,
yeah, Twitter's bad on the names, yeah.
Yeah, fun fact, there's actually 11,000 John Stanleys. So I had to throw in that Stafford just to have some kind of distinguish. But I still need quite a bit to go on. We got some canvassing events coming up. We actually have a fair coming up on the 1st to the 10th. So we're going to be needing some volunteers. If you're in Forsyth or Guilford County here in North Carolina, we'll need some volunteers for that. And then I try to get all my events and stuff posted onto the website or to Facebook, so anybody can feel free to reach out to me, and I'll try to respond as soon as possible.
He is very responsive. He responded to me fairly quickly when I reached out to him for this interview. So yeah. Again, the reason why I wanted to do this interview, and thank you all, gentlemen, is I know Virginia is now in their early voting period. I don't know about Ohio and North Carolina, but we're getting close to the election. It's no longer election day; it's election season. It's election month, really. So I wanted to get candidates on ahead of time so that if you're in the area, you can go volunteer for them. If you're not in the area, you can donate to them. They all need things before this election happens, and every dollar that you can send to them now is far more beneficial than if you waited until the November 1st or anything like that. So get out there and donate to them if you can. Get out there and pound the pavement for them if you can. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this evening, and best of luck in your election.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, David. We do appreciate
Thanks,
it.
everybody. And like I said, we are going to play the interview with, at least try to play the interview with Dean Davison, who's running for Virginia House of Delegates as well. And let's cue that up. All right. I am here with Dean Davison, who is running, who's vice chair of the Libertarian Party of Virginia and is seeking election to the Virginia House of Delegates in the 19th district. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. 19th district in Virginia.
Awesome. So give us a little bit of your background. Tell us what you do for a living, and tell us how you became a libertarian.
Okay. Currently, I am a consultant meteorologist with the Weather Pros, which is a consulting business. Basically, we forecast, do post-storm reports for 32 different states. We have over 400 clients, and that keeps me rather busy, especially during the winter time, because that's our big time when we do a lot of things for the snowplow operators and the landscapers, and they need to get paid. So the only way that, we offer them the weather information and the forecast, and then we get paid in return. So it's a great thing to do. It works from home. It's pretty awesome. So, and I might have something else coming up soon that would be really interesting. I'm also a volunteer firefighter of 21 years. So when I'm not doing that, that's what keeps me motivated there. and basically, you're out in the community all the time. You get to hear the issues, and it's one of the reasons why I want to run. But how I became a libertarian, officially, I would say I started in 2008. I was actually earlier. I have a small little story behind that. But I found out what a libertarian is with the Ron Paul movement. That's how I got involved. Obviously, Dr. Paul is a very intricate part of why a lot of libertarians got involved with this party. But I could not stomach. I did not have my card carrying. By then, I started card carrying in 2013. But helped with the Jerry Johnson campaign. Loved doing that. Worked and helped in every campaign ever since in the state, the districts, and in different affiliates throughout the state. Basically, when I was actually in high school, this I never knew was libertarian until afterwards. You have that aha moment after you become a libertarian. Well, the aha moment for me was I was in school running for student council, and it was an educational school, technical, and I was doing environmental studies, which consisted of the weather. That's what I do. So anyway, I ran for student council on the fact that we're trying to make us wear uniforms and all look alike. And I was like, no, there needs to be individualism involved with it. Everybody's an individual. They all want to dress different. As long as they're not putting anything vulgar out there and hurting anybody else, why should it matter? So I ran on that one, which is, interesting, won that position and got removed by the actual people that were the adults in the situation, because they couldn't stand the fact that it passed and everybody wanted that, and it did last a year. Until when I left high school, we were still wearing what we wanted to. Unfortunately, the next year they couldn't have that, so they all had to start wearing uniforms. To this day, they're wearing uniforms. So that's what's going on here. That's how I became a libertarian, basically, and had that aha moment. And from there, started being an advocate, on the streets for the libertarian message. Moved up into a secretary of the 6th Congressional District in Virginia. Then I moved over to the 5th District. The chair was open there. I ran for that, became the chair of the 5th District. We did a Liberty tour with Dr. Lark. Had a lot. We talked to Dr. Lark all the time.
Yeah,
he's one of my biggest mentors in the party.
Yeah.
Me and Brian Heiner, who's the chair at RVL, which is the local affiliate I have. And then from the 5th District, I was going to run for chair. Dr. Lark needed some time. He wanted to kind of take a little bit of a break. So I got the opportunity. I jumped at an opportunity to become the secretary rather than the chair. Then our chair, Nick Dunbar, needed a break. So Joe Pascal moved up. I then ran for vice chair, became vice chair for the rest of the term. And we continue to move things forward. So that's how it's going on with the actual party itself and how I got involved.
Excellent. For people at home, I was involved in the LPVA for a long time. I was 8th District Chair and on the State Central Committee for a few years, about 2013 on. Great organization. And of course, Dr. Lark is a legend, and I consider him a mentor as well. He's a fantastic person.
Absolutely.
So tell us about your district. Where is your district located in Virginia?
Well, if you look on the map on Virginia and you see Roanoke, Virginia, you'll see a spot to the east of that. My district consists of a good part of Bedford County, which is just east of Roanoke County in Roanoke City. And then it goes up to Botetourt, which is above Roanoke. There's an area called Botetourt, and then into Allegheny and Covington that goes towards West Virginia border. That area is the 19th district. It's a wide, open-landed, gun-toting, loves and big farms everywhere.
Sounds like it's gerrymandered.
Seems that way. And next year might be interesting because once again they're going to redistrict. So I've seen the redistricting for the Democrats and Republicans. The Democrats plan would only have half of Botetourt, no Allegheny, no Covington, and all of Bedford. I like the Republican plan, all Bedford. And the reason I tell you that is the current incumbents from Botetourt in Buchanan. So what would happen is there would be 0 incumbents from the Republican Party in Bedford County, in the district I would be in then. So if this was unsuccessful, there we go. It gives Liberty an opportunity. That's the way I like saying it.
Definitely a change. So, and that's the interesting thing about these off-year elections is that these won't be impacted by the redistricting, those won't go into effect until 22, which means your first election will be 23. That's under those new lines. But
Yep.
so give us your elevator pitch about why you're running, what issues you're running on, and why you want to be the delegate for the 19th district.
Well, I look at things, like I said, I'm a firefighter, so I've been here in Virginia since 2008, and I get to see I've done fire and EMS. I got to see everything that's going on in this county. It's county, we went all over the county, and it's a lot of farmers who are being impacted by regulations. You have a bunch of Second Amendment people that carry guns that, when the Democrats took over the House and the governorship, took away their rights and put red flag laws in place. So you listen to everybody, and that's where you learn to, get that pride. I mean, I was able to move up. I was going to do this in 2013. My dad, unfortunately, went with cancer. I dropped out then, but he's in remission. So I wanted to do this again because I believe that the libertarian message needs to be pushed out hard, much harder than it is, and it needs to be done by somebody who has that passion to do it. And the main topics in our area are Second Amendment rights. I mean, my first things is red flag laws. We need to go. Because anybody can say, Joe over here is crazy. He's shooting guns and I'm scared. Well, then they're going to go with the police and take your weapons. That's not fair to anybody. And I think if somebody would really try that around here, it wouldn't be pretty. Just because people around here have guns on their property and they are not scared to shoot you. You walk on the property. It's kind of violent, but you know what? It's kind of following the whole Second Amendment and protecting yourself from foreign and domestic tyranny. So I understand the people. Okay, this district originally was run by an independent named Lacey Putney for over 20 years. So the Republican Party didn't always have this district. It's when Lacey Putney retired in 2012 and in 2012 for 2013 election that the current incumbent, Terry Alston, which is a Republican, was in there. Yes, they're very red when it comes to the idea of Trump, and when it comes to their individual, and their lower, they want you to do something for them. They want to see something happen in their district, and that's something that he hasn't been able to bring to the district. Mm-hmm. So obviously the Second Amendment farmers need to have, they're putting food tax on hemp. Yes, there's hemp seeds, but there's hemp seeds for a lot of different other things. So they're overtaxing. They need permits to sell fruits and vegetables. Let's get rid of that. Let's get people want raw milk. It's between the consumer and that farmer. I have a problem with the government getting involved with all of that in the farming industry. That'll help farmers out so much, and this is a big farm area in these three counties. The only place that really isn't is Covington, which is more of a city. But you have, let's see, I want to put, as a firefighter, I got to see something that was interesting. They start putting broadband towers up in the county, and it's expanding huge, right? Mm-hmm. So one went on a firehouse grounds, and that person's making rent. So then you're not asking the constituents to put money in. That's just lowering taxes. So if you did that in every single district that has a broadband tower and you put that on those grounds, all that will come together to lower taxes for the individual. And that's a really smart way to get rid of tax or lower taxes to a point where people are like, that's actually affecting us really well. In both ways, they're getting access to internet that they didn't have before because it's very rural. And they're getting lower taxes because of it. And if I'm elected, that is one of the first bills I'm putting up for that. Election reform. We are so, in Virginia, disadvantaged at 10% with state elections. And it's so much disadvantage to us that it's very hard to do. Robert Jarvis was the closest we ever got. But being that hard to get on the ballot and have to do all these loops to get on the ballot, that needs to happen also. So, and small businesses are big in this county, so all this tax funding help out small businesses where we can, and of course keep marijuana legalized and hopefully tax it less because that's the issue. It's great we have the marijuana laws. I was given an A by normal. I was also endorsed by the VCDL. Now that in its own right is huge because the VCDL has twice given before me, given it out, but they've given it out to libertarians that were in Democratic districts.
Yep.
This is a Republican district with a Republican incumbent that lost to a libertarian for that endorsement.
That's awesome.
At the end of the day, that's a win no matter what. Secondly, I have a Democrat in the race who, if I somehow cannot beat the incumbent, I almost feel like it's really good chance that I'm going to be second place. They are something else that'll push the Libertarian Party. You beat a Democrat. Okay. So my ability in this district, I think, is huge to make an impact for the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian movement. It already has because of the WCL thing now, and it's really big here, but it'll just get bigger with the campaign. And if I get in, I have to make 36%. It can be done. Like I said, the old school people are going to think about Lacey Putney. There are also a lot of the upset Republicans with the incumbent because he expanded Medicaid to Medicare. So, and doing other things with gaming that's really twisted wrong. He gets big money from AEP and Dominion, and he has $85,000 to his in his pocket. I have maybe $2,000. My price per vote's going to be really low, but I'm pretty sure that my votes are going to be pretty high. I've been Centerfest, had over 862 of the 1,200 that showed up. 862 took my rack card and were stopped and talked to me, and I got 14 signs out to people, and then 4 more I put up for people, and 8 to a fire department that has members that are going to put them up in their front yard. So,
Great.
And I have other people that have putting signs up in big, wide areas of this county and the other counties that are very visible. So,
okay,
I'm doing everything I can.
So tell people how they can find you on the internet and how they can donate to you.
Okay, you can go to Davison FOR for Delegate 2021 on Facebook. If you look that up, DAVISON, no D in it, and you'll find my Facebook page there. A Twitter handle is on, I believe I put in there. On there, I don't use it as much, so I don't keep it off the top of my head. My website is Davison, DAVISON, the number 4 delegate.com, and there you'll find my platform, a video from Ken Armstrong that endorsed my candidacy. I have to update it, put the VCDL stuff up there still, but events that we're doing, things and so forth like that. So, and there's donate. It says donate at the bottom. And if you go on my Facebook page, you look close enough, you'll see that I have a QR code in some of those posts. That also will take you directly to my donation site.
Excellent. Well, Dean, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck in your election, and we'll talk to you soon, hopefully as elect.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks. All right, so that was our non-Pennsylvania candidate forum. So much thanks to John Stanley and to Tim and Mike and Joe for appearing. Best of luck to everyone in their elections outside of Pennsylvania. But it's my I'm excited to talk to these folks because they're some of my favorite folks in the party. We're going to add Mr. Steve Sheets. How you doing, sir?
So far, so good, sir. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Also, Dr. Chuck Moulton. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And we have 2 candidates from the state of Pennsylvania. One is Tim McMaster. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, guys.
Good. And Beth Ann, is it Rosica or Ruzica? Rosica. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Beth Ann, for joining us. So, the first hour we did candidates from outside the state of Pennsylvania. This one, originally the plan was to have a show just for Pennsylvania this week. I was sick last week and I had to, combine the shows to this week. But, what's going on in Pennsylvania, people outside the party or even inside the party are not aware of the fact that we're going to have a ton of people elected from the state of Pennsylvania on election night in 2021. And it's an exciting thing. And we've got a few people to thank for it. Steve Sheets, Dr. Chuck Moulton, it's your maneuver that we're talking about. So Chuck, Dr. Chuck, tell us, What is the Molten Maneuver?
So the basic idea is there's a kind of a quirk of the Pennsylvania election law that most states don't share, but there are different levels of party in Pennsylvania. There's the major party, which is the Republicans and Democrats, and the qualification for that is at least 15% of registered voters. We're far off from that. We're like around 1% ourselves. And there's minor parties, which are parties that get at least 2% of the top vote getter in a statewide election within the past 2 years. And we currently have minor party status. Then there's political bodies, which are political parties that don't qualify for either of those things, and they just petition to get on the ballot as normal. The deadlines for running candidates are different for the major parties versus the other two types of parties. So the major parties will petition to get candidates on the primary ballot, and the petitions for the primary ballot there's a 6-week period in February through early March, and then they get on the primary ballot, which is in April or May. The Libertarians, in contrast, we have a petitioning period that lasts from about mid-February until August 1st or August 2nd. I forget which. And what that means is there's a period of time when the Republicans and Democrats have already decided who their candidates are. And we know those. And we still have an opportunity to get candidates on the ballot, and they can no longer get more candidates on the ballot. So what I've gone through and done is I've gone through and found all the races where there was no Republican and no Democrat who ran for a local election position. And that means if we get a candidate on the ballot, then we will be the only one on the ballot. That's not quite true. Independents and Green parties can also get on, but in general, we'll be the only ones on. And being on the ballot is a huge advantage. It's still possible for Republicans and Democrats to win by write-in vote in the general election, but it's very, very difficult for them to do so. It's just a huge advantage to be on the ballot. So we've done this a few cycles. Last cycle, we put a huge effort into it. And last cycle, we elected a ton of Libertarians. I think we elected like 40, something like that, off of the Molten Maneuver. 47. Okay. And I think about 25 of them were from people on the ballot uncontested, and the rest were write-in wins. Yep. And last time around, we didn't even do nearly as much as we did this time. So last time around, we only targeted, I don't have the information in front of me like I usually do as far as how many counties we targeted, but I think it was like only 10 to 15, something like that. We targeted with the Molten Maneuver to get people on the ballot. Then we targeted more than that, maybe like 30 to 35 for a write-in effort. This time we went much, much bigger. Out of our 67 counties, we targeted 64 of them. And the only reason we didn't target the other 3 was Philadelphia had no openings, and 2 counties just didn't have their election results available to us. So we targeted everything we could. And we already have 114, I believe, candidates on the ballot uncontested. That's not counting our contested candidates. It's not counting our write-in vote. And we're gearing up our write-in effort right now.
And here's the stunning aspect about that is that let's say all 114, and we see a few other write-ins, and we have what 256 elected Libertarians in the country right now. So you're talking about a third of the electoral Libertarians coming November will be out of this election cycle in the state of Pennsylvania. That's a tremendous, amazing number, and it's building that bench. Beth Ann, you're running for mayor of Chester, right? Is that
Westchester?
Westchester. So, and you've got a very unique, news item that came from your campaign. You're actually not only endorsed by the Libertarians, you're endorsed by the Republicans.
That is correct. Yes.
That's amazing. So tell us about that.
Well, it has been an interesting ride, that's for sure. I was previously, I'll tell my kind of quick story, previously a liberal Democrat for 34 years. I voted for, all the people that probably everyone on this call shudders to think about. And when COVID hit, I left the party because they would not support the things that I thought were important. I work in social work, and I worked really hard to try to get schools open. And I thought that the Democrats would absolutely support opening schools because of all of our minority and low income kids that were suffering. And they didn't. They abandoned that group of people. And so I walked away from the party at that point in time. And I started attending our Chester County Libertarian meetings. And I really liked the group. I liked where they came from. We agreed on lots of things. And so I felt very comfortable there. And in the meantime, I started working with some school board candidates to get new people on our school board. And they happened to be Republicans. I didn't actually care what their political party was. I just wanted people that would keep our schools open and do the right things for our kids and our community. So I started managing these school board campaigns. And because they were Republicans, I got to know all of the Republicans within our county. And so when I decided to run for mayor over the summer, I approached the Republican Party here in our county and in my town about, we didn't have anybody running for this seat for mayor as a Republican. Westchester is a very, very Democratic town. So there was an endorsed Democrat, there was an independent who was running, who had been a Republican a long time ago, but is now really a Democrat who didn't get endorsed. So he ran as an independent. And then me. So there was no Republican candidate. So I asked the party whether they would consider, providing some support for me. I really didn't expect that they would endorse me, but they met with me. They met with the independent candidate at his request, and the committee voted to fully support me, and not just support me, but they're putting me on the sample ballot. So when they send all their literature out to every registered Republican in the borough, my name and with the Libertarian little bubble is going to get circled in, and then they're going to distribute all my literature. They're doing a meet and greet for me in the town, along with the school board candidate that I'm supporting. So it's been just sort of a crazy confluence of events that has come together in a perfect storm. That when I started this, we thought this was really just kind of a fluke to disrupt. We really didn't think that we had a chance at being truly competitive. And now it's looking like it's still a long road, but there is a mathematical path forward if everything continues to align the way it is right now.
That's awesome. Our other candidate is Tim McMaster. You are what are you running for in Pennsylvania right now?
So right now I'm running for auditor of Conewago Township. I am one of the Molten Maneuver candidates. Previously this year, I actually ran in the special election for PA State Senate, which I plan to do again next year as well. But I'm focusing on auditor for Conewago Township this year. One thing that I really want to focus on is holding the township supervisors responsible for what they spend. I've been living in this township for 20 plus years, and every year they spend more and more money. They tax at a higher and higher rate, and the services keep dwindling and diminishing, and no one holds them to task. No one goes to the township meetings. When I started going to them a few years ago just to see what the heck was going on, they looked at me like I was some kind of a pariah or a Martian or something, just because I wasn't one of the 4 or 5 people that normally showed up to these things. And it really, that really spurred me on to say, like, you know what, these people really need some new blood. They really need somebody to come in there and say, hang on, you're not being very responsible with the people's money, and I'm just the a-hole to do it.
Excellent. And
I do want to say, like, it is absolutely amazing to be on the same panel with Dr. Moulton, who makes so few public appearances. I'm truly honored and blessed to be on the panel with you, Chuck. I just want to say that.
Great to have you.
Awesome. And our final guest is Steve Sheets, one of my best friends in the Libertarian Party. Great guy. He's former state chair of the party who did a lot of the heavy lifting as we got into the Molten Maneuver, getting petitions and all that stuff, so the paperwork to and fro as this wound down his state chairmanship. Steve, how you doing tonight, man?
Well, first things first, it doesn't say a lot about your pool of friends, that one of your best friends, but So Chuck had this idea for literally 2 decades, and or at least 2 decades that I remember him talking about it. And so many people ignored him just because it involved actual work, and myself included. And the person who actually picked up that standard and ran with it was Jennifer Moore. And because she stood up and started taking that ball and running with it, she persuaded a bunch of us to help with that. And this past year, Chuck, Jennifer, I did a little bit, but nowhere near the kind of heavy lifting that that these other people have done. Wes, our former executive director, my God. Wes Benedict is just amazing. He helped us out tremendously. Art, and I always forget Art's last name.
DiBianca.
DiBianca, thank you. Art also helped just tremendously. These guys donated money. They donated their time. They spent, God, how many hundreds of hours, Chuck?
I mean, Wes was his posted office hours where candidates could contact him were 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. But 9 p.m. until like 2, 3 a.m. every night, he was just working on things behind the scenes. So it wouldn't surprise. Most days he was working 20 hours a day. It was ridiculous. This was about a month-long period.
So when it came up for a board vote that we wanted to give Art and Wes a lifetime membership to the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania, it was kind of a no-brainer that we would do such a thing. I was really proud, honored, and thrilled to be able to do that for both of them. I think they're both awesome people. Tim,
Wes lives in Texas, right?
Say again?
Wes lives in Texas, right?
He does.
Yeah, he did all this effort in a state he doesn't even live in.
Yes. Just think about that for a second. Yeah. There's not a huge number of libertarians in our nation. So when we say that it's important for all of us to work together to help each other succeed, this is just a case in point of somebody taking that ball and saying, yeah, I'm going to help libertarians in Pennsylvania and I'm going to help them succeed, and doing it. It's really lovely working on projects like that with with people across state lines and nationally. I can go off on lots of tangents, and I was just about to, and I'm going to stop myself because we're talking about elections right now. But I have had the opportunity to work with people across state lines on a number of occasions, and very happy to do so. But I'm just really excited this year because we're gonna send the largest number of libertarians to help govern their locations in the history of the LPPA. I mean, this year is going to be just absolutely freaking phenomenal. And Beth Ann, I've been hearing from Steve Werhaftig about your exploits. I'm so thrilled that you're doing what you're doing, and just so excited to hear about all the endorsements you're getting. And God, that's amazing. Tim, a member of the Wrestlers Caucus, is going to really get in there, get physical, and figure out where the numbers are, figure out where people are gonna be, just why people are spending money on what they're spending their money on.
Excellent. So, Beth Ann, tell us, while you're out in the campaign trail, what are the big issues that people are really hammering home to you?
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, one of the things that I'm excited about, going door to door and talking with voters is just raising people's awareness about what libertarians stand for, who we are and what we believe in, because most people, at least in my community, have no understanding or idea what a libertarian is. And what I really talk to people about is coming at things from a more moderate place, that we have such extremes on both sides. And, whether it's here locally in our community or nationwide, I think that there are a lot of people who are tired of the extremes and they're looking for a more rational approach to government that is more moderate. So that message seems to really resonate with a lot of people. Here in our town in Westchester, as I mentioned, it's very Democratic. And so the people who are more moderate are really disgusted and fed up. And I talk about trying to get that pendulum to swing more back to the middle. And that is another message that seems to resonate, with a large group of voters. But people are concerned about the typical things. They're concerned about our taxes. Our taxes went up last year. They're scheduled to go up again this year. That's a big issue for people. And the way that our tax system is set up in Westchester, it's just an absolute mess. The system is broken and we really have to do something different, and we need to bring in new ideas. So I think those are the big things that I'm hearing from people that they're most interested in talking about.
Excellent. What about you, Tim? Are you getting a lot of feedback from the community?
So this is a very red area. There's a lot of Trump votes in this neighborhood, which is fine to one degree, because they do largely support lower taxes, greater property rights, more freedom for what you want to do with your property and stuff. And what people are mostly concerned about here is that their property taxes continue to go up. There's fewer and fewer things they can actually still do on their property because there's so many regulations. Farmland is being chewed up and turned into subdivisions, and it's not helping the land, it's not helping the neighborhoods, it's not helping the farmers in the community. So these are the things that are really driving the folks here in Conewago Township. And unfortunately, as auditor, there's not a whole lot I can do to really address that stuff. I can focus on keeping the board of supervisors in check as far as what they spend, and making sure that everything that they say they're spending their money on, or they're spending our money on rather, is in fact what they're actually spending the money on. And my biggest thing now is that I want to show people, like, being a libertarian is not crazy. There's nothing wrong or outlandish about being fiscally responsible and wanting people to just be able to be themselves, to support themselves how they see fit. So that's my big thing is with being an auditor now is keeping the supervisors on point, keeping them focused on the nickels and dimes and the pennies on everything, and showing people that as libertarians, like, we want what they want. We want property rights respected, we want lower taxes, we want the government out of their business, out of their lives as much as possible.
Excellent. So, Dr. Moulton, how is this a maneuver that might get voted out of existence?
It's possible they could change the election law at any time, but it's extremely unlikely because, first of all, this two-tiered system has existed in Pennsylvania for many decades, much longer than since I was involved in politics at all. And second of all, so 2 years ago, a bunch of our candidates were challenged to try to get them kicked off the ballot. And this year, they didn't even bother. So none of our candidates were challenged. I'm sorry. I guess one is still in litigation, but his wasn't so much challenged as they said he didn't make the ballot when he actually did. But that's still being worked out. But yeah, so they seem mostly resigned to it at this point. These are mostly, as I said, local offices, so I don't think Republicans and Democrats are too threatened at this point. But when I say local office, I mean we have some mayors, some borough council, township supervisors. There are definitely some positions that actually get to set policy for the township. We also have a lot of auditors, a lot of constables, and things like that.
We have a few judge of elections as well.
Yeah, judge of elections and so forth. I do have the numbers in front of me now, which I didn't before. So first of all, 4 years ago, I brought this to a few. I'm sorry. Is it? I think it was 4 years ago. I brought this to a bunch of counties, And in Montgomery County, the county where I live, Jen Moore saw that she could win auditor just by getting on the ballot. And Jen Moore is our current state chair. So she is now already 4 years into her audit term, 4 years of a 6-year term. And she got excited 2 years from then to get involved in this project. So 2 years ago, we sent out 3,700 letters to 12 counties to get people on the ballot. And then another 2,900 letters to 32 counties for a write-in effort. This year, we sent 15,800 letters to 64 counties, which netted, I think, is 114 uncontested candidates, and also and that's out of 511 people who contacted us and were interested. So we're planning on contacting the people who didn't get on the ballot to mount a write-in effort. What we found 2 years ago is that those were the most enthusiastic, the people who we had already expressed interest, and we have phone numbers and email addresses for all of them. And we're also sending a letter out to another 1,500 of the higher level offices, which includes the school board, borough council, mayor, township supervisor, to encourage writing campaigns from them. So as far as at the national level, there's 229 elected libertarians throughout the country. 63 of them are already from Pennsylvania. 19 of those will end their term of office this year. So we're expecting at least 50 write-in wins, hopefully like 100. So we're expecting to get around 160 elected this year from Pennsylvania, which means we'll probably have around 204 total libertarians elected in Pennsylvania, including the people elected previous years, which means we expect to have more elected libertarians than the rest of the country combined.
That's amazing. I mean, that number just blows me away, because when you consider where we're at 229, what we'll bring in on election day, not just in Pennsylvania but throughout the country, because this year, up to this point, we're over a 50% win rate when it comes to contested elections, and we're going to just we'll have a massive win rate coming out of this year just because of the Molten maneuver and what you guys are doing in Pennsylvania. It's amazing,
and we're getting used to seeing people in their communities that are elected libertarians and seeing they're just normal people. So people are getting acclimated to libertarians. They're getting used to seeing libertarians on the ballot. It's just becoming commonplace, and that's going to help our candidates for contested races in the future, because they can point to elected libertarians. They can get people used to voting for libertarians.
Well, not only that, but you're also talking about one of the things that I hear a lot is libertarians should run local offices, run for local offices that they can win, which you guys are doing. You're putting people into office, and you're building a bench that you're an auditor now, but when it comes to serving your community, people see you serving your community. So when you go to make that ask to run for city council or county commission or whatever, or state house, state senate, it's a much easier ask to say, I've been involved in the community. I'm an elected official. The things that you've heard about the Libertarian Party, are not true, because you see me being an elected official in Pennsylvania, and now it makes that ask so much easier. People just don't understand how effective the Molten maneuver is going to be 10, 15 years down the road at this point. When we start seeing libertarians elected in Pennsylvania to state house, state senate, even further on to maybe U.S. House, and making a dent in things like the U.S. Senate race, which our illustrious former chair is running for in Pennsylvania for next election cycle. So, Tim, tell me your libertarian origin story, because we got it from Beth Ann. What is your libertarian origin story?
It's pretty convoluted, kind of. It started in 1992, actually, at the York Fair. I was cut in school my senior year and saw a Libertarian Party banner or stand that they had. Like most 16, 17-year-old kids, I thought like, hey, libertarians, I like pot. Yeah, I'm down. So I signed up. I joined. Didn't vote libertarian in '92. Voted for Ross Perot. To my ever living shame. But in '96, I did come around. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. But in '96, I did come around and vote for Harry Brown and Dr. Jo Jorgensen. So I was pretty proud of this year being able to vote for her at the top of the ticket again this year, or this past year, 2020. So and really, apart from maybe a few months, and I think 2012 maybe, when I switched to Republican, just because Ron Paul was still on the ballot for the Pennsylvania in the primary, so I could vote for him just because all the other Republicans sucked. And then I immediately switched back to being a libertarian. So that's really kind of my origin story. Is I started as a pot smoking libertarian, and now I'm a goat farming libertarian. So
There you go. Now, you also have an interesting past that you used to be a professional wrestler, right?
I did used to be a pro wrestler. Yeah,
That is
I
awesome.
obviously wasn't very good at it, or I might still be doing it. But yeah,
I don't know.
that
I watched
I'm sorry.
I watched that Beyond the Ring thing that they have on Vice. A lot of those guys don't make it too long. So.
No, and it was it was a few years that I did it, and I can tell now the concussions have built up, and the joints are still pretty bad. So
Yeah. All right, Steve. I know you're often. There you go.
Right.
So, Steve, one of the great things, you're running for Senate next year, right?
Yes, sir. Well, I'm seeking the Libertarian nomination for Senate first.
Yes. So, how much easier will it be for you to be a candidate for a statewide office, knowing that you've got local elected officials all throughout the state?
Oh, seriously, it's unbelievable how much easier that burden's going to be. But there are certain things that you need to understand when running for an office that's statewide. One of the things that we have to do as candidates is support the down ballot candidates. Now, in all the counties where we have elected libertarians, they're going to have some fairly decent. And I'm going to say this because I'm positive this is going to work out this way. If they're not already growing stronger, the county committees that are in those particular counties, if they're not there, they're going to exist. If they are there, they're going to get stronger. So my job as a statewide candidate is to help them become stronger still, to help the down ballot candidates that are in those counties succeed, get on the ballot, help them with their petition drives, help them with their campaigns, and just have the motivation and the desire to drive around this state of ours and meet with those people, campaign with those people, petition with those people. Because at the end of the day, as I help them, they're going to be helping me. As we help each other, we're going to do things like maintain minor party status. We're going to do things like have the Libertarian Party more noticed, in these in all these races. And while we may not win, we're going to make a serious inroad on changing that discussion. We're going to change the way things are. We're going to participate in the debates because we almost have to at that particular point. And we're going to share what it is to be a libertarian. We're going to show that we're not crazy people. We're going to show people that we have an actual solution where, the two major parties just pay lip service to the problems, and they've been paying lip service to the problems for decades. We're offering actual, real, legitimate solutions and how to make things work.
Yeah, I mean, because we've had major parties, really they keep the problems going because that's how they run their elections now. They just they identify problems all the time. They don't offer solutions because, well, you got another issue to run on in 2 or 4 years.
Libertarians, on the other hand,
yeah, we offer solutions to fix the problems.
we want to fix the problems because we want to go back to the private sector where we're actually making money and succeeding.
Exactly. All right. Dr. Moulton, what is, I mean, so in 20, what, the next time you can do this is what, 2023?
Yes.
All right. What kind of effort are you looking at for scaling this up for 2023?
Well, it's hard to scale up anymore as far as the people we can contact, but what we want to improve upon is just our response time. Wes has automated a bunch of things as far as getting paperwork ready for candidates, which should make that faster. What we really want to do is get the county parties more involved, and the stronger the counties are the better. Because what we found is we get some contacts from places where we're completely unorganized at the county level, and we don't get nearly as many of those candidates on the ballot as when we have a super organized county where we have activists that can pair up with the potential candidates, make sure that they fill out the paperwork correctly, help them with petitioning, and really urge them on. So, for example, Berks County, Allegheny County, Chester County were all very active counties. Lancaster County, very active counties that were able to help their candidates get moving. And we'd like to see more counties like that.
Excellent. Let's see, Beth Ann, what do you need as we get towards the final stages of the campaign?
Well, we always need money. Money's always good to, help fund the campaign. I have been very fortunate here in Chester County that the Chester County Libertarian Party has been incredibly supportive of me. We have a whole team, working together around the clock. They're doing all my social media, all my websites. I have people making phone calls. One of our volunteers went out door walking with me today. So, I mean, this is a group of just highly dedicated people who I never could have pulled off what we're doing if I didn't have the support and commitment from the group. Our chair, Stephen, yesterday came over and we recorded, 10 different 2-minute video segments that we're going to post on different topics, on my website and on our Facebook page to get the message out. I'm super excited because I was able to convince the League of Women Voters to host a debate for me and the other two candidates. And I'm really fired up about that because my opponents are both older. They're both 70 years old. And I don't think that either of them have the energy that I have or the support behind them the way that I do. So I'm very excited to get that debate going and to be able to do it in person. We actually are going to do it in person and also live stream it. So all of those things I think are going to be very, very helpful. But the big thing is now we need to do a mailer. So we're trying to get enough money together to counteract the other two opponents with a mailer, just door knocking, talking to as many people as we possibly can. I actually was just on a call about an application that you can use to do text messaging to potential voters. And that's another thing that I think if we were able to pull that off financially, that would help put us in a better position to be more successful. And then just finally, really, our Chester County will issue their mail-in ballots on October 8th. So I really need to make sure that I get out and talk to or touch those voters that are most likely to do the mail-in voting prior to, the end of the month before they send in those ballots.
Oh, awesome. So tell me your websites.
Sure. So it's Rosica, ROSICA, for mayor, and it's spelled out FOR mayor.com, rosicaformayor.com. And on the website, there is a link to both my Facebook page and the Instagram page, and there's a place to donate and learn more about my platform and what we're trying to do here in Chester County. It's pretty exciting because Chester County is the most wealthy county in the state of Pennsylvania. Westchester is the county seat. So if we, by some miracle, pull it off and actually win this race, I think that it'll be a really, really big deal. And even if we don't win, we are disrupting because the status quo is not happy with what we are doing here in Westchester, which I take as a really good sign.
Excellent. So they can go and donate there. Find your Facebook page, your Twitter, all that good stuff. Please get out and donate. The reason why we wanted to do this this week is that I don't know, when does Pennsylvania start voting? Have they started early voting?
Yeah, Chester County, not yet. Not the ballots won't be out until October 8th, but I can't speak to other counties in the state.
Okay. But getting the word out there so that people can donate while it still matters, rather than donating on the last day of the 2 days before the election starts. Getting the information out for your campaigns. That's what it's all about for us, is to provide as much support to you guys. Tim, what's your Facebook or your website?
So I don't really need too much for the auditor campaign. So I would like to plug some other websites if I could.
Yeah.
I'd like to plug lppa.org. I'd like to get as many people to join LPPA as possible. Like what the LPPA is doing here in Pennsylvania for the cause of liberty, for the cause of freedom, for libertarians in general is just it's absolutely breathtaking and amazing. And I would really want to keep that good work up. After the auditor election, when I move back into kind of campaigning for a state senator, we can maybe talk about some fundraising for that. But for now, I'd really like to just plug Steve Sheets for U.S. Senate, Nicole Schultz for Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor, and Joe Solosky for Governor of Pennsylvania, as well as once again publicly applaud Dr. Moulton for all of his hard work with the Moulton maneuver. Yes. I can't say enough positive things about you, Dr. Moulton. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
People who are not, long term in the Libertarian Party who are watching may not know Dr. Chuck Moulton, but he's been national vice chair. He's been chair and vice chair of Virginia. He's been a lifer with the Libertarian Party, and this party would not be anywhere near what it is without Dr. Moulton. We can't thank him enough for all the hard work he does. He's kind of the brains of the operation when you think about it. So, but thank you so much for what you do, Dr. Moulton.
Well, thank you so much. I was also chair of Pennsylvania back in the day. The one thing I want to plug that we haven't mentioned is Wes Benedict, who has done a lot of the legwork here. He does it through the Libertarian Booster PAC, which is I think it's a super PAC that he created. So he gets some major donors and some ordinary people giving him money that allows him to dedicate this amount of time to libertarian projects all over the country. And right now he was focused in Pennsylvania, but he's also helped a lot with Virginia candidates. He helped with the Rob Sarvis campaign and with some of our local elections in Virginia before. He helps a lot with Texas candidates, and I think he's going to be helping out with Kentucky, which has a similar opportunity to the Pennsylvania Moulton maneuver in even years.
Oh, that's awesome. Excellent. Anything else from you guys that you want to talk about tonight? Actually, let me plug another candidate for you guys. Joel Getz is running for mayor. Do you know, Steve, what town that is?
Joel running for mayor of East Stroudsburg.
East Stroudsburg, and I think it's Getz, number 4.
Getz, the number 4 mayor.
We should all remember it by now.
ETZ for mayor.
One of his platform planks is to change out all of the parking meters on the streets of East Stroudsburg. He's going to change them all out and put gumball machines in their place.
That's That's awesome. I mean, I'm get rid of the machines, but yeah, that would work. I could
Yeah.
live
His goal is
I
to
like
make
gum.
Stroudsburg
Everybody
East
likes
again.
gum.
What's that? What was that, Tim?
His goal was to make Stroudsburg East again.
There you go.
So we all have to support Joel.
Joel's a great guy. I reached out to him. He unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, but really appreciate him. He's a great voice in the party. He really entertains me and is a good dude. So wanted to plug him. Um, let's see. Let me put you on TV screen. Oh yeah. So do you guys get any local news coverage or anything like that?
The local newspaper here did a story about me running for mayor. That was on the front page with a picture. But to be fair, they ran stories on all of the candidates, but at least they included a story about me. And actually, Stephen, our county chair, is great about connecting with the press. So we've done several press releases that some news source or another locally has picked up. So that's all been very positive. I haven't been on, I'm trying to think, I don't think I've been on an actual TV program, but I've been on a number of radio programs. So so far we are doing pretty well in the press department.
Excellent. And Chrissy Wickers will always say that it costs nothing to send a press release. So that is the easiest thing you can do to get press. I can't recommend it highly enough. Outside of actually getting, pounding the pavement and knocking doors, I think sending press releases is one of the easiest ways to get votes for your campaign. So
Yeah, David, I will say I was relatively impressed during the special election that I ran this past spring with the amount of coverage that I actually received as a libertarian candidate. Now there were 4 of us on the ballot for that. It was a Democrat, Republican, and Independent, and myself as the libertarian. And they reached out and talked to us, the news affiliates for CBS and Fox broadcast, as well as some of the local papers. They all reached out, and I thought were very very generous as far as giving time to the crazy libertarian candidate. So I was just I think that was really impressive. Like I wasn't really expecting that so much, and I think that is a testament to how far as a party we've come as the Libertarian Party. That they during a special election they would reach out and say like, hey, you're one of the candidates, we want to ask you the same questions that we're asking the Democrat and the Republicans. So again, that's more credit that I give to the LPPA for the stellar work that they do.
So if I could just interject, I ran for Congress in 2004, and at that point there was no incumbent. I was in 5 televised debates, and one of the reasons that was possible is historically the League of Women Voters in Pennsylvania has been very welcoming of minor party political candidates, to the extent that there have been statewide races where either the Republican or the Democrats say, hey, we want to have debates, just the 2 of us. We don't want to include the Libertarian or the Green or the Constitution candidate. And the League of Women Voters has taken a stand. They've said, no, if you refuse to show up to our debate, we will put up an empty chair where you're supposed to be, and we'll tell people that you refuse to debate. Hopefully they continue to take that stand, but we're very lucky to have that level of support from the League of Women Voters in Pennsylvania.
yeah, I wish the league was still involved in the presidential debates. Ever since it became the Commission on Presidential Debates, it has gone downhill since then. So, but let's see. Do we have any other questions? Oh, this was one. Why did they not invite Miss Joe? This is more for general, but the reason why they didn't is that again, it's the Commission of Presidential Debates, and that's the reason why they don't invite candidates. Now we can have a discussion about Libertarian Party and our candidates don't buy a lot of advertising in debates. I think if we were able to raise that kind of money to buy advertising, I think it makes it a lot harder for them to deny us the debates because TV companies do like money. But as long as the Commission on Presidential Debates is there, it's going to be a stacked deck, and they would rather cancel a debate than to provide us that platform. So, all right. Any other things you want to talk about this evening?
One other thing. I the Pennsylvania we're lucky to have this level of activism. We're lucky to have this opportunity and so many hardworking people working the Mullen maneuver and people running for contested races as well. We have an executive director, Kevin Galgon, who puts a lot of work into the party. We actually have the most party members in Pennsylvania that we've ever had in our history. We've raised the most money than we ever have in our history in a given year. So Pennsylvania is definitely on the upswing. As we roll into the even year elections, I'm chair of the election committee in Pennsylvania, so I focus on getting candidates on the ballot. We do have some acrimony in Pennsylvania, like in every state. We have people in various caucuses who may not agree with each other on particular things, but I'm looking at that as an opportunity, and I'm hoping to get a healthy rivalry where various caucuses try to get as many candidates on the ballot as possible, and ultimately we'll end up with more candidates on the ballot in an even year election. I'm hoping we can get close to a full slate of people running in contested elections for state representative, and we've never come anywhere near a full slate. I think the most we've run is maybe 20 or 30 or something like that out of I forget what it is, like 200. But I think we have the most level of activism we've ever had in Pennsylvania, so we can get much closer this year than we ever have in the past.
So, just for a second on the even year elections, what is the ballot access hurdles for you guys going into those elections?
So for even year elections, it's 2% of the top vote getter is the signature requirement, and that can be very hard to get for U.S. Congress, as Steve Sheets can attest to, having tried many times in the past. But it's somewhat reasonable for state representative. What the Republicans and Democrats need to get is 300 signatures. Usually, the most we need to get is about double that. So somewhere between 300 and 600 valid signatures is what would be required for state representative. State Senate, I guess Tim can answer that better than I can, but I think it's like 500 is the minimum and 2% is more than that. I forget exactly how much. But it's a manageable amount, especially if you have an active county. The statewide, our signature totals used to be ridiculous. It used to be 2% used to average out to usually 25,000 signatures at the statewide level. We went to court and in litigation we got that reduced. Now it's 5,000 valid signatures, which is manageable. It could be done all volunteer, but usually we have paid signature gatherers that help us out with that.
Awesome. Tim, you wanted to say something?
I was just gonna say, like, I was very fortunate in the special election this spring, in that because it was a special election, and through the great work of Jen Moore and Joe Solosky and even the great Dan Wassemer in the 2020 election, to achieve minor party status in Pennsylvania, I actually didn't need to collect signatures. I just needed to be nominated by the party to run for that special election. Now coming up in 2022, I'll need to collect signatures for that, and I think it's probably going to be we're probably planning on 750 to 1,000 signatures, just because we want to have way more than we need. But I was very fortunate. I walked into that election on the backs of giants.
Yeah. And Steve, you were part of the well, actually, I'm sure all of you were part of the monumental effort to get Joe Jorgensen on the ballot in 2020 with the pandemic and the way that Pennsylvania ruled that you still had to get all the signatures, even though they were telling people to stay home. Tell people about that story.
Oh my God! Well, that particular when we lost that particular court case, I was just beside myself, like furious. And I made a post about it, just describing just how monumentally pissed off I was. And I don't know if it was that particular message that got everybody out, but I think everybody felt that same level of, we're pissed off and we want to fix this, and we had, I believe, 220 volunteers that came out to gather petition signatures. And 35% of the signatures that we obtained were from paid petitioners, which Jennifer Moore was managing. She managed that paid petition drive. And anybody who's ever managed a paid petition drive just knows how monumentally difficult that is. But neither here nor there. Somehow in 3.5 weeks, we collected like 9,000 signatures, right? We turned in 10,300. We had, like a little over 1,000 in the bank already of raw signatures. So we turned in 10,300. That particular day, I showed up in Harrisburg, having been up till 2 a.m. the night before with, people at my house. People had been coming to my house all week that week. We were counting, collating, numbering, scanning, everything you have to do these things, right? Meanwhile, Kevin, our executive director, was doing the same thing in his office, and he was up till 4:30 or something like that, in that same morning. I drove over to his office, picked up his forms, and took all that stuff over to Harrisburg. Meanwhile, Joe Jorgensen was meeting us in Harrisburg. So I show up there at the Joe Jorgensen bus, and I'm just kind of like rocking back and forth a little bit because I'm about to pass out, and everybody's congratulating me. Wow, Steve, that was a great job. That was a great job. That was an awesome job. And I'm what I can do is I just want to freaking cry right now, because I'm grateful that it's all over. And, I did get to say a few words, at the microphone in front of Joe Jorgensen's bus. And the first thing I said was, if it wasn't for all the volunteers, none of this would be happening. I would not be here speaking. So thank you all for everything that you've all been doing. And I mean it in all sincerity. Everybody who spent time gathering signatures with us and who spent time, talking to people, just making everything just work. It was just, wow, just freaking amazing, and the gratitude that I felt for all of that effort just came out in that particular speech right in front of Joe Jorgensen's bus. But one of the things that she did, I'd expressed interest in one of her T-shirts. It was a white T-shirt that had blah, 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 itsy bitsy tax cuts, blah, 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 this and that. She had this particular T-shirt from 1996, she ran with Harry Brown. And she happened to show it to me in the California convention. And I asked her if she had one in XX. And she said, I'll have to look. That was the last time, that was in February. Fast forward to final turn in. As I'm walking up to her bus, she comes walking up to me, thanking me for all my effort, holds out that particular T-shirt and says,
excellent.
For everything that you did, I want to give you this.
Nice.
So
that's excellent.
It was awesome. It was a really neat day.
Yeah. So I just, I will tell people that if you want to see how things are done right, talk to the people in LPPA. What you guys are doing up in Pennsylvania is a model that needs to be followed wherever we can. Not every place is going to be able to do the Molten maneuver, but that hyper focus on local offices and getting people elected to local offices, every state, everyone can do that. And the work that you all are doing is amazing. And it's a credit to not only Dr. Moulton, but Steve, but, from Beth Ann to Tim to Joel, everybody that's putting their name on the line for this election this year is going to, this is going to be a legendary election for the Libertarian Party. This really will be. I'm pretty confident it'll make some national news and the number of elected libertarians we will see coming out of this election. And wish everyone nothing but the best of luck.
David, if I could say one other thing to kind of finish this out. There are some people who say that, running for auditor is not really a very meaningful job. Running for, this is not a very meaningful position. What we're doing with these local elections is we're establishing that we're willing to do the work at the local levels. And the people that are doing the work at the local levels are the people who will be able to run for state rep in the future and win. these jobs are monumentally important. Auditor basically, it makes sure that our organizations are doing things the way that they're supposed to be doing. When we have someone who's running for judge of elections, that's ensuring that our elections have integrity. If you want people to keep an eye on the process, you want libertarians, you want third party people to be keeping an eye on the process, because we're not spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a Senate campaign. We are the ones who are there just saying, God, we want this just to work. So,
You know what? That's a great point, because until you get people into office and see what's going on, especially like auditor and places where they can blow the whistle, we're only kind of surmising that there's waste and fraud, waste and abuse in government, because we don't have somebody on the inside saying, yes, here it is. You get those people on the inside. Yeah, we do get reports from Congress every once in a while, but very rarely do we get reports from the inside of your city hall or county commission that there's fraud, waste, and abuse going on, and here it is, and this is the evidence that we've gathered for it. These are the points that we need to be making, and that's the only way we're going to be able to do it, is to become elected officials and to do our jobs and point out that fraud, waste and abuse. But again, everyone, thank you so much. Beth Ann, tell everyone about your race again. Tell everyone your website and all that fun stuff.
Sure. So Beth Ann Rossica, running for mayor of Westchester, Pennsylvania, the county seat in Chester County, the most wealthy county in the state. My website, as you can see on the screen there, is rossicaformayor.com. I'm running against two other folks, and we're very optimistic that we have a real shot forward. And I'm just incredibly grateful for the opportunity to be on the show tonight to talk about what we're trying to do here in Westchester, and to be a part of a bigger movement that may finally start to change the two-party system, which I think is really a big problem, not just locally, but all over the country. So thank you very much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Tim, tell us about your office and what you're running for again.
Sure. I'm running for auditor in Conewago Township here in York County, which I would like to point out has the highest number of libertarians on the ballot in all of Pennsylvania. So that's one thing that we're super proud of as the vice chair of the county. Like, I'm super stoked about that. Our chair has been doing monumental work on that. If you do want to go and give me some money for this campaign or the next one, it's tim4pa.com/donate. But I'd really much prefer that you donated to maybe Steve Sheets for Senate, or Joe Getz for mayor, or Nicole Schultz for lieutenant governor, or Joe Solosky for governor, or just donate directly to lppa.org.
Yep, absolutely. And Steve Sheets, tell us about what you're running for.
I'm running for U.S. Senate. And like I said, part of what my plan is to drive around the state and help our down ballot candidates, help strengthen our party, and just change the conversation in general from the paying lip service to problems to actually presenting solutions.
Awesome. Had to fix that. There we go. All right. Steve Sheets for Senate.com. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Best of luck for all of you. Thank you, Dr. Moulton, for figuring this out and getting the good word out and doing all the work that you do. And I look forward to talking to some elected members come November. So thank you so much, and we will talk to everyone again. No show next week. I think there's going to be an LNC show or town hall next week. I'm not really sure, but just due to the uncertainty, I'm going to not have a show next week. There are going to be some changes. The After Dark show will be moving to Friday nights starting in the middle of October. I'll get dates out for that. And look forward to having folks on the After Dark show as well. And we'll be making some changes, but Desiree Lindsay will be on in 2 weeks to talk about her campaign for Texas State Senate. And without no further ado, I will see everyone in a couple weeks. Thanks everyone for dropping by, and get out and vote if you have an election on November. What is the November election date? You guys
November
know?
2nd.
November 2nd, the earliest date it can be in November. So get out on November 2nd to cast your votes. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, David.
Good night. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. We air every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can get regular updates on our show and our guests by following us on social media on Facebook.com/thepoliticaldeepdive, all one word, on Twitter.com/politicaldeep, all one word, on YouTube.com/Papaduke, PAPADUKE, on Twitch.tv, The Political Deep Dive, all one word. And on Mondays, the audio of this episode is uploaded to SoundCloud.com/The Political Deep Dive, all one word. And you can join in on the fun on Instagram.com/The Political Deep Dive, all one word. The best way to support the Liberty Movement is to join the Libertarian Party at lp.org. Give us a like, a share, and a subscribe on whatever platform you're watching from. It helps extend our reach, and we greatly appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern.